Welcome back, Patriots, for a Friday episode of the Bald Brad Show, where it is June 27th. And Donald Trump is still, by far, not even close, the best president in modern history. Patriots, I hope all of you had a lovely week. We made it through another one, and it's been wild. Israel and Iran. Russia, Ukraine still going on. You got China, again, it's 2025. Reports are that China might be going into Taiwan this year. Let's hope that's not true, but that's a couple-year-old memo that was sent out to the government that we uncovered years ago. And, just sitting back like I usually do, kind of thinking, spinning the gears, spinning the wheels. And, you're flipping through the TV. I don't watch much TV anymore. I'm a big movie guy. I love movies. And there's just nothing out there, man. There's some stuff. Don't get me wrong. Don't say that. When I say nothing, obviously there's stuff out there. But I mean, there's not that much good stuff. And everything that's come out over this last 8 years has been like woke garbage. There's the new Star Wars, or not Star Wars, and the new Marvel Ironheart that just came out. And I'm hearing that thing is woker than ever. Like the first episode, what I'm hearing is that thing has all the check boxes that you could possibly get in terms of being woke. I don't understand it. We're losing a lot of good opportunities here for a lot of good movies. But it's sad to see. It's sad to see that we're losing an entire decade of good movies because these woke knuckleheads want to push their agenda, and we can't have a good time at the cinema with it, And then, why is ticket prices down? Why is nobody wanting to go to the movies? Well, one, maybe the fact that you pushed minimum wage through the roof, so that increases the price of popcorn and candy and soda, concessions. It increases the price of a movie ticket. Yeah, it's not exactly fun to pay $35 for something that's going to last me an hour and a half. It's really not that fun. When I could just, I'm so cheap, I will wait for it to come out on TV and streaming services, and I'll watch it there. And I don't have to have the kid crying because there's no more like public decency anymore. I don't have to have the teenager on their damn phone because there's no decency anymore. I don't have to have somebody kicking the back of my chair because there's no decency anymore. I could sit in the luxury of my own home that's quiet. You can hear crickets almost 24/7, and it's awesome. And I can watch the movie myself. But how are you guys doing? We did not have Dark Maggie yesterday. I gave you guys a warning that I might not be in the shape I need to be to do a show. Now, I know you guys would have loved it. I know you guys would have loved it. But it wouldn't have made for good television. Alrighty. And again, we spend Friday kind of a little bit more of a loosey-goosey episode, folks. Some of you call your wife that. You're a little loosey and goosey. Well, we go over a little, we go over some episodes here. Not episodes, we go over some news. Jesus! Sorry, the Lucy thing really, I was everywhere on that one. Mentally, physically, I was there. Brad, if you get rid of the cricket form, you won't have any crickets. Oh, farm. Jesus, Drag, you're just as bad as I am. Wake up! Don't forget you can pause for the bathroom and snacks. Exactly, but Mizzy, you got to learn to hold it, girl. Good morning, Patriots. It's good to see you, Doe. Nuts. Shayla's here. Dizzy's here. Good morning to all of you over there at Rumble. We got a lot of people over at YouTube, but we got so many people. John puts a cowboy hat. Good to see you, John. Pat is the truth. I'm silicone of woke crap being shoved down my throat. Yep. I'm also tired of the lies being shoveled down my throat by the media. There's a segue for you. None of you knew. Leavitt tweaks press over how secretive Operation Midnight Hammer truly was. I love this and throws it in their faces. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt jabbed at members of the press corps during a Thursday briefing as she touted the success of Operation Midnight Hammer. Leavitt's regularly scheduled briefing came just hours after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth hosted his own news conference to clear up confusion surrounding the United States military strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. I'll be honest, their communication in all this was fine for me. I don't see the problem. They're just going at war with the media, and I think rightfully so. But I don't really see a communication issue here. I get it. Hey, you went and did your deed. You brought the boys home. There was intelligence that was preliminary that says, hey, we're not exactly sure with high confidence if we really got everything. That was leaked to the media. These media nut jobs pounced on it rather than waiting. And the media was wrong. So the CIA, NSA, like every 3-letter agency came out this week and goes, yeah, the thing's kaput, the thing's rubble, it's gone. So here's a few clips of the briefing yesterday regarding this.
Of Operation Midnight Hammer was to destroy the regime's nuclear enrichment capacity and stop the grave nuclear threat posed to the United States, Israel, and the rest of the free world. The mission, which will go down in the history books, was an overwhelming success.
I don't know if it will go down in the history books, but I mean, it was definitely a successful mission. I think it's just a little funny how they are kind of making it bigger than what it is. It was a good mission. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to take any of their thunder, but I mean, I think missions kind of like dropping the atomic bomb go down in history. You know, Captain Phillips is kind of a cool one. You know, saving that one girl in like Iraq or whatever with the Navy SEALs was pretty cool. Like, there's certain things where it's like that's pretty. There's some pretty cool missions out there. Osama bin Laden's a good one.
These sites very closely in the weeks and the days leading up to the attack on Saturday, which I will add was one of the most secretive and successful operations in United States history. I think many of you in this room would agree with that because none of you in this room knew about the strike on Saturday until it took place. So we were watching.
Isn't it funny that allegedly Democrats were the ones that leaked this intel to the media, to the press? But the Democrats were complaining that Donald Trump did not notify them beforehand of this attack. Gee. Let's put on our thinking caps. Why might have Donald Trump not told you about the strike? Because you would have told the Iranians beforehand in the media. You would have told everybody. The camera crews would have been out there filming it. Well, he didn't tell us. Yeah, no ducks. You can keep your mouth shut. Absolutely obliterates this fake news CNN reporter after she leaked false intelligence. Here we go. I'm just going to say, I've been asking for...
In the entirety...
I've been asking for people to call out outlets and call out names for the last 4 months. Let's see if I get it.
And the entirety of that assessment was not leaked to the media. Only tidbits of that assessment were leaked to CNN. And we have seen this playbook run before, where you have people in the intelligence community or perhaps on Capitol Hill. We don't know, but I believe the FBI is investigating to find out who that leaker was because it's illegal and they should be held accountable for that. Leaked bits and pieces of an intel assessment to push a false narrative. And it's to the same reporter, I will add, Natasha Bertrand of CNN, who has done this in the past. In 2020, it was Natasha Bertrand who had 51 intelligence analysts falsely lie to her, but she still put it on paper for some reason, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. We all know that's not true, right? We can all agree on that now. That was a lie from the intelligence community. Also in 2020, this same reporter, Natasha Bertrand, wrote that a top intel agency ruled out the man-made lab leak theory of the coronavirus origins. Again, the president was right about that. This reporter wrote a lie from the intelligence community to seek a narrative she wanted to prove, and guess what? We now know that's the truth. Also, in 2024, Bertrand pushed the suckers and losers hoax. She also pushed the fine people hoax, which was taking the president's words purposely out of context. And then last October, and I believe this is notable, Natasha Bertrand published an article in Politico from the intelligence agency. She said that John Ratcliffe was speaking without any evidence when he said Iran was attempting to undermine President Trump's presidential campaign. And then we, of course, found out that was absolutely true. In fact, the Biden administration declassed an intel report which said they had high confidence that Iran had done exactly what Ratcliffe alleged. They did run an influence campaign to hurt President Trump's candidacy. In fact, we know the Iranians tried to take President Trump's life. And so this is a reporter who has been unfortunately used by people who dislike Donald Trump in this government to push fake and false narratives. She should be ashamed of herself. And that's not what reporting is. Journalism is trying to find the facts and the truth. And this week, we saw this same reporter being used to push a fake narrative to try to undermine the president of the United States, and more importantly, the brave fighter pilots who conducted one of the most successful operations in United States history. And I think the American people fully know that this operation was a complete and total success.
We need more of that.
And
everything that she just did there, we need more of. I've been asking for this for 5 months, not even 4, 5 months. This is exactly, and by the way, it needs to happen with the people in the room, not just the people that are out there, some idiot reporter that clearly posts a lot of bogus stuff and somehow still has a job. I mean, they work for CNN, so, but don't worry, CNN's the most trustworthy news outlet out there, according to them. That's what they say. So how she still has a job? I mean, it's CNN. But this type of behavior from the White House press secretary needs to continue. A matter of fact, it needs to ramp up. She needs to do her work, meaning she needs to do her due diligence in finding out all the lies that each one of those reporters in that room have told. And just whenever she feels like it, just pull that out of her head and just start slapping the you-know-what out of them. And they all need it. So anytime there's a bogus question from like Caitlin Collins or the Associated Press from like Zeke Miller, who actually does a pretty good job, I got to give it to him, but it doesn't matter. Maybe Peter Alexander, who still does a pretty good job every now and then. Just start slapping them around. I think we can all agree that's not a bad thing to do. Now, something I kind of want to show you guys that I've been working on. Let's see if we can get a few of the things up here. I've been working on a few things behind the scenes, just kind of some mock-ups, nothing really crazy, nothing that's bonkers, but let's see if we can send it over. I should have done this before, but we're looking at maybe creating some new shirts, some new merchandise, maybe some new coffee mugs and stuff like that, kind of enhancing the shirts a little bit that we have. And so here's a few mock-ups. Let's see if we could send this to my computer really quick and see what you guys think. Now, this is just for Bald Brad Show merch, logos, stuff like that. So we'll definitely try to get some stuff going for like more shirt stuff that's not exactly Bald Brad type stuff. So let's open this. Oop. So here's this one. So that's pretty dope. Kind of an updated logo style. Black and silver. I think that looks dope. And then we also have a new 2D image. Like, put this on a mug, you know what I mean? That would look pretty sick. I kind of like it. It's exactly what I was looking for. So kind of get everybody's take on that one. Yeah, it looks pretty cool, right? Especially that one. Put that like on a back of a shirt or something. So these are just some mock-ups, some stuff I'm working on behind the scenes. We got more. Oh, don't worry, we got more. Daddy got more. We also got one of these. I kind of like this one. This is kind of dope. This is the American Patriot logo. I have this on a shirt right now, by the way. You can get this on a shirt right now. But it's not this exact one, but I kind of like the metallic, the bronze, kind of a Minutemen type of colonialism look. I've always been into that. Here's another one. Got the silver. I love the silver and black, but I also like the gold one is dope. I love the gold one is my favorite. Yeah, it does look like the presidential seal. Absolutely. The gold one, I would really love to do like a gold and black on a mug, man. But it's my favorite. It's my favorite. And then I'll get to the new show logo look here. So there's that one. You guys seen that one? I kind of like the texture on it too. But then that's the kind of the updated one. You can get that on a shirt. I love this. But anyways, I have the shirt that I wear. That's the Bald Brad Show shirt. And then we got an updated show logo. This one, I want to know your guys' thoughts because we used to down here have my show logo. This logo here. You guys know that. Well, look at the coffee. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna share something with you. Actually, how did I get that on there? Anywho, all right. At least you know there's real coffee in there. So it was that show logo that we used to have down here on the show. I need your guys' take on this. This is where I need your feedback. I rendered a new look to it, like an updated look. It might be too sleek, if you know what I'm saying. But that's what we're working with. That's what I'm thinking about going with down there. But dude, that is badass. I love that. By the way, I came up with this is from my head on there. But that's the new that's the updated logo. So we're working on stuff. That looks pretty dope, right? I mean, that is crispy, baby. That's crispy. That's sick. That's so cool. But the problem here is nobody would notice it. Only I would know this. The eagle head is facing the wrong direction. Now, maybe some of you are all for that, but the reason I've always explained this, the microphone represents the First Amendment and the handgun represents the Second Amendment. You need your handgun to make sure that you have all the other rights. So there's no need for me to have this yet in the sense of utilizing it, which is why in my show logo, it's pointed towards the microphone because I'm not in the scenario. It's kind of like the rug that's in the Oval Office. That's where the idea comes from, is that the head is pointed towards the olive branches during times of peace and then towards the arrows during the times of war. That's the whole premise of it. So, but I kind of like that it's looking at the logo. So we'll see. But anyways, I don't know if I will put that on the show here, but maybe for like a t-shirt or on a new mug or something. We'll see. We'll do something with it. But anyways, we're coming up with the renditions and I want to come up with a few shirt ideas that you guys would be interested in purchasing or something that you would like to wear. So if you have any cool ideas of something like, hey, this is a shirt that a lot of my friends buy, or you like those patriotic style shirts, I'm going to be working on that for the next couple of weeks to come up with something that not only I would want to wear, but maybe you would want to wear as well. There's a lot of people that wear that. Oh God, what's the one that has like the muskets with the X on it? It's like patriotic gear. They sell them at local firearm shops. I can't even think of it. Tank tops. Okay. Whoa, Miss Mom wants to wear tank tops. All right. I love that. We have women's merch, but okay, tank tops. We could do it all. But anyways, I'll look at some more stuff. But I want to create stuff that's not Bald Brad Show gear too that you guys can wear. There's let me see if I can find it. Patriotic merchandise. I want to find the name that that I can like, are you guys interested in wearing this type of stuff? Where it's just like simple. See, I don't wear this type of stuff, so. But I don't know. People wear all sorts of stuff around the country, but I don't wear this. But some people are really into this type of stuff to sport. So it's a good brand. But anywho, all right, back to the news. Just want to get everybody's take. Now's the day to do it, right? Friday's the day to do it. But let's get back into the news. Enough of that. But that's what I'm working on by myself. All me, nobody else. Trump is out here blaming Iran strike intel leak, calls for prosecutions. This is what I uncovered yesterday. If this is true, somebody should be going to jail, prison for a long time. President Donald Trump accused Democrats on Thursday of disclosing intelligence about the U.S. strike over the weekend, claiming the bombings on Iranian nuclear facilities, did not fully destroy the sites after he declared they were obliterated. He made the post on Truth Social, and he says, quote, "The Democrats are the ones who leaked the information on the perfect flight to the nuclear sites in Iran. They should be prosecuted. A probe is already underway after CNN as well as the New York Times reported on early intelligence claiming the bombings did not completely destroy the sites and set back Tehran's nuclear program only a few months." I mean, I would imagine there's only a handful of people that were able to have their hands on this intelligence. So it's slim pickings on who it is. Now, how are they able to figure this out? I don't know. I don't even know if they ever will. There was reports that it wasn't Congress. There was reports that it was somebody else other than Democrats that got it. But we did a TikTok and I was asking people, like, who do you guys think it was? Like, if you had to name a Democrat, who do you think leaked it? And there were some names, right? There's the obvious names. There was people doing like, oh, Chuck Schumer, Ilhan Omar, AOC was a big one. I really like the Adam Schiff one, but I don't think he has access to this. It has to be somebody that has access to these classified documents. I think it's always fun to just throw a name in the hat and see who it was. I'm not sure myself, but I'm curious, who do you guys think it is? You think it was Shifty? You think it was... I don't... As much as I don't like AOC, you know, she's a rocket, don't get me wrong. She's a big booty Latina. But, like, she's hot. But that doesn't mean that, I date her. You crazy? She's psycho. But I'm not sure that she would do something like that. Like, she's crazy, don't get me wrong. But she's also seems like the type of person behind closed doors that does follow the rules somewhat. Now, Adam Schiff, everything I've heard about that guy, even from his own people, that guy's evil. People say about that guy that if you wanted to see actual, like, demonic evil on earth, that would be the guy, which freaks me out, by the way. A probe is already underway after CNN and the New York Times reported this. Quote, "We're doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now," which means we got Dan Bongino and Kash Patel on it, baby, because this information is for internal purposes, battle damage assessments. And CNN and others are trying to spin it to make the president look bad when this is an overwhelming success. Yeah, I would say so. But we all know the media is out to get Donald Trump. That is their sole objective. And I know that the media loved having Donald Trump be elected because they were going down the pooper. They needed Donald Trump. I mean, when Donald Trump's done, they don't have anything. They are screwed big time. Big O time. Here's some updates on Kilmore Abrego Garcia. Will be deported to third country, prosecutors say. I love this. I love it. And the left are losing their minds over this on social media, by the way. Federal prosecutors say that the government will deport illegal alien and suspected MS-13 human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia to a so-called third country after he is released from a Tennessee jail. The illegal alien is now expected to be sent to a willing foreign nation other than El Salvador, his country of origin, due to a 2019 court order preventing him from being sent back to his home nation. Abrego, infamously referred to as the Maryland Man by Democrat politicians despite being an illegal alien, was deported to El Salvador, being brought back to the United States to stand trial. A judge presiding over the case ruled that Abrego must be released while he awaits trial, despite acknowledging that the man would be likely arrested by ICE. We covered this, and remember how crazy it was that this dude is found by the court to not be a threat to the community when the guy is being tried for human trafficking, beating the crap out of his wife. Allegedly, he trafficked minors. He's a violent gang member, one of the most notorious gangs in all the world. And he does domestic abuse. And this guy is free to roam in your communities. Freaking nuts, man. It just shows you how bad the court system is. It just shows you how corrupt all these people are. Our plan is that he will be taken into ICE custody and removal proceedings will be initiated. Abrego is expected to be sent to a third country rather than back to El Salvador. Now, here's my problem, is that he's going to be deported to a third country, and I guess I shouldn't really care that much. The fact that he's being deported is a plus. But what's stopping him from coming back? I mean, Trump has the border locked up, but you don't look at these Democrats that are willing to fly all the way to another country to have a margarita with the guy. Do you think that they are willing to find some workarounds to sneak this guy into the country, back into the country, and keep him under the radar? Because I do. If they're willing to, allegedly from Donald Trump, leak intelligence like they are, what's stopping them from doing something nefarious like that? You have people in Congress that are totally against this country. That boggles my mind when you took an oath. But you're also talking about people who don't really believe in God in some cases. They say they do, but their actions speak otherwise. So I don't know. You got some updates here with RFK. Let me make sure I get to that. I got to scroll down a bit for that article. If you're having a good time, hit that like button. Pat says, if anyone actually read the judge's orders, he wasn't allowed to be back to Guatemala, not El Salvador. There you go, Pat. Fire Flynn says, that's not true. He will serve time in the U.S. Maybe. Dizzy says his wife was on TV crying and begging for his release. Telemundo. Karen says Maryland man's wife wants money, not her hubby back. Probably. Krager says, yeah, I can normally schedule indoor work on hot days like this. Been working on decking the last few days. That's rough, especially in the heat. Hopefully you're not a ginger, Krager. Hopefully you're not a ginger. Jericho says she reminds me of that annoying girl at school that always smells like pee. Jeez, well, Lee's, what did I jump into? What the fuck? We all know who you're referring to. Absolutely. We all been there. Yep. All righty, here we go. RFK withdraws funding from International Vaccine Organization. Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. announced that the United States is withdrawing funding for an international vaccine organization that he says has lost the public's trust. Gavi is a global vaccine alliance that works to provide vaccines to low-income people worldwide. It was founded by Bill Gates, the World Health Organization, which, come on, really? The WHO? I don't think I'll ever have trust in those people ever again. Bunch of liars working in cahoots with the CCP. I don't trust the WHO at all. Screw those people. Bunch of liars. Gavi has received more than $8 billion from the U.S. government since 2001 and claims to have vaccinated more than 1 billion children, saving millions of lives. RFK Jr.'s assessment of the groups was not entirely negative. He commended Gavi for some of its work, particularly for keeping medicine affordable. When he announced that the United States would halt its financial contributions until Gavi could prove itself to be science-focused and transparent, Kennedy also stated that Gavi helped censor dissenting voices during the COVID pandemic and ignored the science. Correct. So the World Health Organization, look at this. The WHO and Gavi partnered together during the COVID-19 pandemic to recommend best practices for social media companies to silence dissenting views, to stifle free speech and legitimate questions during that period. Correct. Anything that you couldn't even talk about COVID on YouTube. You could not talk about COVID whatsoever on YouTube or social media because it was misinformation. Folks, we're still suspended on TikTok. So I thought it was a 3-day suspension. No, they suspended me for like a week. I don't go back. I'm not able to stream on TikTok until the 30th for saying, quote, misinformation. I don't know what was misinformation because we were talking about illegal immigration. All I said was Democrats, specifically Joe Biden, allowed millions of people to pour across the border. That ain't misinformation. That is fact. But that's how communist nations run, folks. If it goes against the narrative, that's what they do. If it goes against a dissenting view, you get censored. You get silenced. That's how it works. George Orwell. Kennedy said Gabby must re-earn the public's trust. Well, good luck with that. That's going to take a generation or two. You ain't getting my trust. Hell no. Screw you guys, man. I don't believe in none of that. None of that. I don't trust those people with a 50-foot pole. We do have more news coming up, but I want to find stuff that's interesting. Stuff that people are talking about right now. So Eric Adams is taking shots at Zohran Mamdani as he launches a re-election bid. I can't believe I'm even saying that I'm rooting for Eric Adams, but it's this was tough, man. It's like this. It would be if California had a mayoral or governor race. It doesn't matter which one. The whole purpose I'm talking about the difference between two evils is who do you pick? And I want to know what you guys would go with. If you had to choose between Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris. Man, it's tough. Who would you pick? If you were living in California, where I was, mind you, I wouldn't vote for either. I just wouldn't vote for them. I just wouldn't vote. I'd vote for like whatever else was on the ticket, but I'd write in somebody. I'd write my own name down. Hell, I don't know. Who would you guys pick, though? You had to, right? You're in a communist state. Gun to your head. Who do you pick? God, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I would probably pick Kamala Harris. And I'll tell you why. Just to take a shot in the dark. What do I have to lose? Gavin's already driven the state into the ground. So, and I've said this philosophy before, but with like Democrats saying, hey, you know, the guy or gal has been running your area into the ground for years, if not decades. And in some cases, there's never been a Republican in that area, and it's completely dilapidated. So wouldn't it make sense to at least just once take a chance on a Republican? Wouldn't it just take wouldn't you just take an opportunity to see if something does change? And if it doesn't, then hey, you know what? You go back to your voting your Democrat idiotic way. But it would make sense in the same way. Gavin has been here for a lot of years and sucks. The guy's so bad. He's a sweet talker and people buy into his charm because they're idiots. Look, I don't buy into look, Gavin Newsom's good looking. So's AOC. I don't buy into her charm. I'm her Disney eyes. I don't go, oh my God, I melt. Like if she put her boobies in front of me, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, I'm gonna listen to anything you say. I'm like, no, you're hot, but you're still an idiot. Like, it doesn't work on me. New York City Mayor Eric Adams took a shot at his self-described Democratic Socialist opponent on Thursday. Quote, I'm proud to be here to say to the people of the city of New York, I am seeking re-election to be your mayor of the city of New York. Adams told a cheering crowd from the steps of City Hall. What the hell is this guy doing? Motherfucker, what you say? Adams was elected as a Democrat in 2021, but he is running as an independent in the wake of low approval ratings and federal corruption and bribery charges that were dropped in February. Now, the fear is that because he is not going Democrat, that he's going to be pulling votes away, and Mamdani could win here. Does anybody know when the actual election is? Let me see if it's down here. Is it down here anywhere? Like, when is the actual... When are they really voting? I don't even know where it's at. Maybe somebody can throw that in the chat really quick for me while I'm doing this. Mamdani, 33, is the member of a Democrat Socialists of America who stunned Democrats this week when he declared victory in the party's mayoral primary for New York City. Now, I heard there was low turnout for this, so that's one thing to take into account. And then a lot of people are bringing up the fact that, hey, there's no voter ID in this state. Makes me wonder. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo has been expected to walk away handedly. A lot of people thought Andrew Cuomo might be going independent as well. But there you go, considering running as independent. But I don't know. He might just walk away, go off in the sunset. I don't think there's any hope for him. People really don't like this guy. Like, New Yorkers really, really don't like Cuomo. So it seems like it's going to be between Mamdani. There's another guy that people are throwing the name in the hat, but he's not really getting much traction. And Mayor Eric Adams. This is a city not of socialism. Well, not yet. I mean, there kind of is, but not really much. I've been to socialist countries. This is a city where you can come as a dishwasher and you can own a chain of restaurants. This is a city where you can be a cab driver and then become a doctor. This is a city where you can go from homelessness to building houses. This is a city where you can be a young person who is dyslexic, a young person who was rejected and eventually become elected the mayor of New York City. So I'm assuming he's talking about himself. Well, what's fascinating here is it seems like a lot of New Yorkers want this. I think a lot of New Yorkers might be into this. When you start bringing, again, I talked about this yesterday. I mean, it's true, man. If you don't hold on to your culture, somebody else is going to take your culture from you and replace it with theirs. So November 4th, New York will vote for their mayor. Thank you. All right. So Lulu and Danielle, appreciate you. Thank you. Now, it doesn't mean somebody didn't say that over at Rumble or on Kick, but Karen has it. Karen says election is November 4th, 2025. Thank you so much. Sweet. Now, there was a piece here. Let me see if I still have it up here. Matt Walsh, I believe, did a piece. Yes, here we go. Let's check this out. Because I have a feeling this is going to talk about kind of that culture idea of what happens when you just start bringing in millions of people from another country, a third world country. And he's going to talk about Europe here. And Europe is a shell of what it is. I've heard London is bad. I don't know if that's true. Is Shib in the chat here? I don't know if Shib is in here or any of our boys over there from the UK that watch the show. Isn't it amazing? We have patriots all the way in the United Kingdom that just love America. They love Trump and they're like one of us, but yet they're over there in the UK. Here we go. Yeah, I heard London is bad. I've heard from people. I've spoken to people that live there, like physically spoken to them, sometimes face to face, and they said it is bad. It'd be kind of like you asking me, like, "Hey, how have you seen California change?" And I'm like, "Yo, it's bad. It's not what it is. It's not what it used to be." So let's break this down and see what Matt has to say. Now that a critical mass of voters in our largest city have decided to support a socialist Muslim rapper from Uganda who openly despises every founding principle of this country, you are hearing a lot of predictions about what New York might look like in a few years. They all aim to answer the question, what happens when you eliminate the police department, nationalize the grocery stores, prevent law-abiding citizens from owning firearms, shield millions of illegal aliens from deportation, force taxpayers to fund sex changes for children, and prevent landlords from raising rents? I kind of hope it happens. And I'll tell you what, like, a lot of people suffer. Don't get me wrong. They voted for it. Not everybody. But here's the thing is on that TikTok video, and that's why I know you guys don't want TikTok, but if you have an opportunity to go over to it, I'm not going to play it, but I just want you to see what I'm referring to. Is which one is it? This one has 224,000 views, man. This video here, I think it's beneficial because you're able to see what the left and the people in New York are saying about the voting of this guy. So here's the one people keep bringing up, Kurt Silva. That's the guy that's like, oh, I don't think he's getting much traction. I could be wrong on that. But look, a lot of people are talking about the young generation. Young idiots think they can get their lives paid for. A lot of people are mentioning quote unquote free stuff. That's what people wanted, free stuff. Maybe. But here's the thing, is that if young people are voting for this, they're the ones that don't have the money to move out of New York. And by the way, a lot of we said this yesterday, the low income are the ones who voted for Cuomo. The middle and high income were the ones that voted for Mamdani. Well, you're going to have to tax the rich, which is what he wants to pay for all this quote unquote free stuff. Nothing's free. Somebody's paying for it. Well, guess what all those rich people are going to do? Do you think they're going to stay in New York City? Or do you think they're going to move out of New York City because they have the money to move? Correct. They move. You know, we kind of seen this before in the US. We've seen cities be carved out and be a shell of what they used to. You can see this on even a local level, and I can actually point you towards it. Santa Monica, 3rd Street Promenade, hollowed out, like 40% vacancy or something like that. I say do this. Because that way we can point to people going, yeah, go look at that over there. And just watch one of the world's greatest cities crumble. Just crumble. You think California would have a mass exodus? There was already projections from real estate investors that were freaking out over this. I wish I had the article title in so I can recall. There was an article yesterday that was talking about the real estate, and investors were freaking out over this. Nothing like it has ever been attempted before. You could show this platform to even the most dedicated, commissaire in the Soviet Union, and he'd tell you to go easy on the Karl Marx and touch some grass. There's no doubt that New York will be rendered completely uninhabitable if any significant portion of this platform is ever implemented. You would carve it out. It would be wild, man. I mean, if they had any sort of progress in our lifetime, it'd be gone. And I'm not exaggerating this. If it is true that this guy really wants all these policies, you're going to see some crazy stuff, man. And I don't live there, so let it crumble. I live in I don't live in LA, but I live close to LA. As I said, I think Trump should have never put in the National Guard. No, not send in the Marines. Allow the idiots in LA to handle it. Let him burn it down. Let him burn it down. But all the discussion about Zoran Mamdani and his platform, as deranged as it is, ultimately misses the point. Everyone knows that implementing communism is going to be a disaster. There's no need to basically talk about it all the time. What's a little less obvious is that everything that's about to happen to New York is the inevitable result of large-scale demographic change, correct, caused by legal migration. Yes, legal, correct. Because you're allowing people to pour into this country that don't want to assimilate to your creed, your values, your culture. They want to bring their own fucking culture here and destroy the culture that's already been created and what made America great in the first place. This, God, I don't have my book on me. Sounds a lot like the book I wrote. Nope, I got to plug it. I got to. Oh, I'm the only person that can plug my stuff other than you guys helping me out. But here. Oop, that's not it. God, Brad, what are you doing? I wrote an entire book on it called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. I feel like we need a volume 2 of this one or something. Do we have any more copies in stock? You guys have been buying these up like hotcakes. So no, the hardcover is sold out, I think. I think the hardcover is sold out. There's 3 left in stock on paperback. So go buy that up. It's on discount right now. You get $13. $13! I'm not making any money. By the way, I always show this. A lot of people that buy our book also buy Glenn Beck's book. This is his sequel to The Great Reset. If you could buy both of these, you're going to be really well off and really well educated. That's for damn sure. His other book, that is the one before this one, so this one's called A Dark Future, is the one before, it's called The Great Reset. Highly, highly, highly recommend you guys buy The Great Reset and Trojan Horse. And if you like The Great Reset, I think Dark Future is a good one. It's a little bit of an updated version of his other one, The Great Reset. For all of the time we spend discussing the disastrous consequence of illegal aliens to flood this country, the fact remains that most foreign nationals don't need to sneak across the border. Instead, over the past several generations, our government has let them in. This is correct. I already know where he's going with this, and I haven't even read it. That's not to say that all legal migration always has the same effects everywhere. In every case, it doesn't. More than half of the residents of Miami were born outside this country, for example. Most of them came from Cuba, and no one could refuse Miami for a dysfunctional socialist dystopia. Correct. Talk to any Cuban out there, the vast majority of them, and I've seen them in the comments of my videos going, it's, what are these guys thinking? I'm from Cuba. This is terrible. This is not a good idea. Blah, blah, blah. They get it because they've lived it. They've seen it. And what's wild, though, is some of these people that are coming from these countries have lived and seen the disastrous policies that have been happening in their country, and they still bring that crap over here because they're idiots. After years of supporting Democrats like Hillary Clinton, as recently as 2016, Miami is now a reliably conservative place. And there's an obvious reason for that. People fleeing Cuba have no desire to see the same socialist policies implemented in their new country. Correct. They see exactly what Democrats are trying to do, and they reject it. But New York City, we're nearly half, 40% plus, like it's like 40 to 45% of the residents are now foreign born, is a very different story. That's because the vast majority of, quote, lawful migrants to New York are not coming from Cuba. Instead, here we go, they're coming from places like Guyana, Venezuela, Ecuador, Haiti, Colombia. Migration from these countries have been a disaster for the United States. Several of these countries are in Africa with populations that are around 98% Muslim, which is why the Muslim population in this country has exploded since the 1990s. Look at this. This is called an exponential function, folks, is what this is called. This is wild. Muslims have no intention of fully assimilating in this country. You can't, by the way. In their religion, you can't. I use that word fully very, very, very carefully. Crazy. You can see the data there, and I'm wondering if he's going to go in the route that I think he's going to go. We will see. And the reason why I said fully assimilate is because that's where I think he's going to be going with this, regarding their culture, maybe even their faith. Let's see. You can see the data there. It's a very sudden and sharp increase in the Muslim population in just a generation or so. And as a result of this increase, as of the latest count a few years ago, New York currently has well over 1 million Muslims, or roughly 15% of the electorate. And for the most part, these Muslim migrants are fleeing their countries for economic reasons, not ideological ones. There you go. I'm telling you, it's coming. I feel it. I feel Matt brewing in his writing here. It's coming. Here we go. It was the next sentence right after. It's almost as if your host knows what he's talking about. They have no desire to assimilate here. There you go. They don't want to suddenly embrace any of our values. They simply want to take advantage of our economy. Dizzy said I can't read. Well, good thing there's audio, Disney. Dizzy, I'll read to you, buddy. I'll read to you. I love you. I'll read to you. Daddy will read to you. He said, I love Daddy. But we shouldn't be surprised by what we're seeing in New York or what we're about to see, because it's the exact same story as played out in several major cities in the West already. Here's what London looked like in 1961. Predominantly white. 97.7, 2.3%. Okay. Now, so it's more than 97% white. By 1970s, whites made up more than 90% of population in London. As of 1991, so you see the trend, it's going down. The numbers continue to drop through 2021. As you can see here, this is the 2021 pie. I mean, that is a big shift, man. That is a drastic shift. In 50, is that 50 years? In 50 years, man. Wow. Now people go, well, what's the problem with that? There's not a problem based on race. The issue is not based on how much melanin that you produce. It has everything to do with the culture that you're bringing in. And that's what I keep talking about is culture, 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 culture. That's what it is. Now, white people make up well under 40% of London's population. It's a staggering decline, and it's a very close parallel to what's happened in New York City. In 1950, New York was something like 90% white. Then from 1970 to 1980, New York's white population dropped by more than 20%. I think he's utilizing the white population because the white population tend to be something other than Muslim in terms of faith or in terms of demographic. in terms of culture. However, it doesn't matter how you want to phrase it. So people get all caught up because he's talking about the race thing. Oh, he's a racist. Oh, he's a white nationalist. He's a white supremacist. He wants nothing but white people in New York and nothing but white people in London. But because they're so bat bleep crazy that they're not able to focus on what he's actually talking about here. Now it's down to around 30% and even declining even more than that. London's transportation was a little more gradual, but it's been just as stark. And hopefully you guys are okay with me going over this because I'm actually finding this fascinating myself. And keep in mind, as this is happening, white people aren't flooding into African countries and taking them over. There aren't millions of British citizens storming into some African nations and winning pivotal elections over there. This is a one-way surge of migration. Most of it's been lawful, and the effects on London have been catastrophic. Here's just one of many indicators in London. They don't have housing projects. Instead, they have council houses. That's the name for government housing for poor people. If you had to guess what percentage of these council houses are occupied by foreign nationals who aren't paying any taxes whatsoever, as it turns out, according to a recent estimate, the number is 48%. That is insane. Wow. Look at that graph. Look at this. Oh, Jesus. Sorry. Yes, half of the government housing in London, which British citizens pay for, and which is intended for British citizens in a time of emergency, is currently being occupied by foreigners. Holy crap. In northwest London, it's 61%. The government won't do anything about it because it's been captured as well. The vast majority of Parliament wants to see more migration, not less. Wow. When you have this ideology infiltrate your government, it's GG, it's game over. At the moment, only 9 of the 75 members of Parliament from London are conservatives. I don't see how you come back from that. I think London has fallen, man. London, of course, also has a Muslim mayor. Within the past few years, a lot of other British towns and cities have followed suit. This is unbelievable. Wow. It's not exactly a very diverse group, but if you question the wisdom of importing so many foreign nationals that your government becomes unrecognizable, then in London, you'll be thrown in prison. 2 years ago in East London, a man was arrested for complaining about the number of Palestinian flags in his neighborhood. He said, "Look at this crap here. You let them into the country, and this is the SHIT they come up with." Within hours, the police announced that they had arrested the man for committing a, quote, racially aggravated Section 5 public order offense. They've also imprisoned several other British citizens for the Orwellian crimes of publishing written material to stir up racial hatred. Basically, and false communication. Folks, if I was there, do you think that I would be arrested or not arrested? Just from the book I've written, not even talking about the podcast, I would be in prison right now. Look at this. As we discussed recently, one of those citizens was a mother who was just sentenced to several years in prison for a mean tweet about migrant hotels. London has fallen. London has fallen. And based on their government, it ain't coming back for in our lifetime. This is I'm spending the rest of the show on this article. I'm that serious, man, because this is some crazy SHIT. If you complain about any of this or demonstrate publicly in favor of these political prisoners, then huge numbers of Muslims will gather in the city center in London in a show of force. That's what happened recently in London following an anti-immigrant demonstrations, as documented by Andy No. Well, here we go. Hand to God Let's just pretend you didn't know this was England. You would think this was in a third world country. Wow. Again, I want to be clear. I could care less if somebody's Muslim, practicing Islam. I can care less. You need to assimilate to the values and the culture of the country you're immigrating into, but it's not about assimilating. They want to take advantage of the economy. In the same way here, they want to take advantage of our welfare state. They want to take advantage of the opportunities they have here. And then in doing that, they will change the culture to fit what they want, and they will demand it. See, what happens is because we're so generous and we put up with so much shit here, and we go, oh, no, it's fine. It's because it's not a big deal. No, yeah, let them do what they want. It's their freedom of speech. No, they have a right. Just let them do it. They take advantage of that, and they try to change the culture. You could pretty much pick any major European city, and you'll see similar footage. It's getting more and more common. As the foreigners keep coming, take Paris, for example, more than 40% of Paris residents under the age of 20 currently report having at least one parent who wasn't born in France. Jeez. To put it mildly, these foreign nationals aren't doing great things in Paris tourism industry. For foreigners commit 70% of violent robberies in Paris. Oh my God, dude. This is the craziest article I have seen probably since the BLM riots. They commit more than 90% of thefts. Holy shit. 60% of sexual assaults on public transit. Man, no wonder this is Paris, but no wonder these guys are talking like this. The guys I've talked to over there in the UK, man. You can't let your wife go anywhere by herself. And by the way, this is how I feel when you go up to LA. And they were responsible for nearly 80% of the rape cases in Paris. Dude, is anybody having an oh fucking A moment? Or am I just the only one here, boys? This shit's crazy, yo. As Nate Hochman has pointed out, you'll find similar statistics in Switzerland. Roughly 30% of Switzerland's population is foreign born, and yet they are responsible for vastly more crime than their demographics would suggest. Foreigners are responsible for 45% of homicides and 47% of rapes. 30% of the population is committing 50% of the rapes. You see that, by the way, with the black population in America. They represent 13% of the population and commit like 50% of all like crime. And if you want to even go a step further than that, we talked about it in my book, Trojan Horse. I went back in that book. That's why I think the book on the war on cops, like the chapter that talks about policing, defunding the police, and discrimination, I think those two chapters are worth the book itself. I went back to the point where they weren't even reporting crime statistics anymore. That's how far back in my research I went. Black males tend to make up the most crime, and they only represent about like 7 or 8% of the population, depending on what year you're looking at. How is it? Like, I'll be generous. Let's say 10%. It's not 10%, but let's be generous here. 10% is committing half the crime in the country. That is a cultural problem. Now you have 30% of foreigners basically almost committing half the rapes and almost half the homicides. There's a common theme here. And the reason why I want to keep mentioning that race doesn't have anything to do with it, because you could have a white person that is still a foreigner that has the same culture as the other 30% foreigners that is committing half the homicides and half the rapies. Yeah. Migrants from Afghanistan and Pakistan are 3 times more likely to be convicted of a crime compared to their native population. Africans are more than 5 times more likely. Why is that? It's the same story in Austria. Oh. Gee, so it's kind of like no matter where you look, it's almost like, hey, something's happening here. There's clearly some sort of value system that's been inculcated in these people in their countries of origin, like Afghanistan, like Pakistan, where they think beating the shit out of people, raping them and killing them is a normal thing. Gee, I wonder maybe why nobody wants to allow people to immigrate into their countries in the Middle East. Not a lot of migration happening in the Middle East, not going from one country to the other. It's kind of obvious at this point. As you can see, Afghanistan is very highly represented in the murder category. They really punch above their weight there. Meanwhile, the Polish are pretty well behaved, but they have places like Serbia and Slovenia who are statistically overrepresented in total crimes. All in all, foreigners account for roughly 40% of all crime in Austria. Do you see a common theme here? Am I the only one that's seeing this theme? Wow. GG, man. So looking at basically Europe, countries like France, Britain, Switzerland, and Austria, clear signals that we shouldn't follow in their path, but we will. Because people are idiots. People are idiots. That's why I think America's doomed, folks. Donald Trump will only slow. Ooh, Supreme Court rules on birthright citizenship case. Here we go. Breaking news. Breaking news. We're going to this.
Are broader than necessary to provide complete relief to each plaintiff with standing to sue. They say the lower courts have to move expeditiously with respect to each of these plaintiffs. It says the injunctions are also stayed to the extent that they prohibit executive agencies from developing and issuing public guidance about the executive plans to implement the executive order. If you remember, part of this executive order on birthright citizenship, the stay was that the agencies that would be responsible for actually implementing the change with birthright citizenship, those agencies couldn't even start making a plan. So that part of it is lifted as well. We do see that the dissent here comes from the 3 justices you expect. It looks like Justice Sotomayor filed the dissent. Kagan and Jackson joined that. Justice Jackson also filed a dissenting opinion, but there are a lot of concurrences here. Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, there are others. So we'll parse through this, but at its first blush, it looks like this is a win in putting a limit on these nationwide injunctions. We'll see how far those limits go as we dig back through this.
Got it. Want to bring Jonathan Turley back in. Shannon, thank you. So, Jonathan, it sounds like this is kind of what you were mentioning earlier. 6-3 decision granting a partial stay on these nationwide injunctions unless there's a broader impact. Kind of decipher that for us.
Well, I've only started to read the opinion, but what I've seen does look like a victory for the Trump administration. Justice Barrett is saying that the only way for justices to exercise this type of universal injunction in some of these cases is equitable relief. But she does not find evidence that that type of relief was granted to these judges. So they indicate that the administration is likely to prevail on this issue. All of that is going to be awfully good news for this administration. They have been really hit with these sort of Lilliputian attacks. There are all these individual district judges effectively freezing federal policy and programs across the country. So it does appear to be a victory. It may be a bit more nuanced, but so far it looks like a good day for the Trump administration.
Andy, a question for you. Again, here are my dumb questions. This is not on the merits of birthright citizenship then, it looks like, but am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I think this really, we never get to the merits because of the injunction issue. And it seemed to me that what made this case very interesting to people at the beginning was the birthright citizenship question and the very important question of whether that's compelled by the 14th Amendment or not. As the case was litigated, it really became this other thing, which was about these nationwide injunctions, which for the reasons that Jonathan just mentioned are the thing that has plagued the Trump administration across the board in its second term.
Andy, Jonathan, stand by. I want to bring in Shannon Bream once again.
Okay, so let me break this down for you. kind of confusing here. Okay, so the Supreme Court looked at a case about Trump's rule trying to stop kids born in the U.S. to undocumented immigrants from automatically becoming citizens. They didn't fully decide if the rule is okay or not. Instead, they said judges in lower courts went too far by blocking the rule everywhere in the U.S. So the court said this: hey, judges, you can only block this rule in the places where people sued, not the whole country. This means in 28 states, Trump's rule can go ahead for now. So some kids born there might not get citizenship, but in 22 states that fought the rule, those kids are still citizens. It's a big mess, and the courts will keep arguing about the rule, whether it's legal or not later. Basically, nothing's fully decided. And this is confusing because states follow the rule and others don't. So more court fights are coming. Basically, these idiots didn't vote on anything. What a bunch of head cases. What a bunch of head cases. That's why you saw me. I'm like confused by the language that they're using there on Fox. I don't know if you saw my face. I'm trying to figure out like what? It's not what the Chiron said. Vote on birthright. I mean, they did vote on birthright citizenship somewhat. Like, give me a break. They didn't actually vote on it. If anything, you just created more of a shitstorm. I'm so tired of these people. They can't just come up to the decision. Oh, well, it might be, it might not be. It's like, give me a break. Get a freaking backbone. Either it is or it isn't. And what's weird here, I would like to point out, historically, the 14th Amendment was written to protect freed slaves, not to hand out citizenship to children of illegal immigrants. Just want to point that one out. Historically, if you go to open up any textbook, that's what you would find. It's crazy to me. But be careful, because this is what they're saying on social media. A lot of people are coming out breaking. Trump scores another SCOTUS victory. Yes, slightly, but people aren't going to read this thing. People aren't going to read it like we did. So they say U.S. Supreme Court allows Trump executive order restricting birthright citizenship to go into effect in some areas of the country. But people are going to read it. Oh, it's, birthright citizenship. They're not going to read the actual thing. So I'll have to break that down a little bit later today on my own. But I think we'll end it there. But let's look at some of the chat here a little bit. The slaves were documented. Not all of them. But yeah, in most cases. It's actually really fascinating in terms of I don't want to go into a history lesson here, but it's really fascinating to look at like the slave trade. There was a lot of documentation that was definitely had. But when you look at the founding of our country, especially when you're looking at the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, that was kind of a big deal to put that type of stuff on paper, especially coming from, where the British were at over here. There was definitely some differences. But the founding fathers put a lot of stake in making sure everything was written down on paper, like really documenting every single form of government and moving forward. That was a big thing. And we look at it like, well, everything's written down nowadays. Back then, not everything was. And when you look at how and why slaves are coming over here, that documentation was actually pretty damn good. So I think Angel makes a very good case in terms of slaves were documented, but that's here nor there. I mean, the idea is that it was geared for a different purpose, but that's where you get into differences of, like, I'm a textualist when it comes to the Constitution. Like, we need to understand why it was written and who it was written for, like the who, what, when, where, why, how. But the other side of it is others think that it's a living document that basically shifts and changes shape. It can be altered depending on the time of which it's being read. I don't believe that. I think there was a reason for it. And that reason for it was what was taking place in the past. And you apply what was taking place in the past and see if it's applicable to today. And there are slaves today, but not in the U.S. Not that I know about. But that's what they want to do. They want to change it and shift it. Look, if you want birthright I just want to point out they can change all this. That's the crazy thing to me. I never understood this, is why people bitch, moan, and complain about the Constitution. Well, it doesn't say it, so you can't do it. Okay, so put it in there. I don't understand all you need to do is change it then, but you don't want to. You'd rather form and shapeshift it and play into a reality that doesn't exist for yourself. That's what they do. And I'm not for that. We have been winning a lot. It happens. Yes, Krager, we are winning a ton, and it's awesome. It is awesome. Everything has to be overly complicated, yet so simple. Yep. Lulu had it right. We have been winning. Oh, I got that one already. They are talking about birthright citizenship. That is correct. All right, I think we'll end it there, folks. Is today Friday? Today's Friday. So I'm starting to feel a little bit under the weather, so I don't think I'll stream at all this weekend. I want to try to get a Spooky Adventures video out. I need to just do it, but we'll see. Most likely I will do it tomorrow because I need something to do. But if you guys can give me feedback, can you email me if you purchased any of my merchandise? Whether that was a mug or if you got a shirt or something like that. I want to know what it was like through Teespring. A buddy of mine ordered some stuff and he said he didn't enjoy the process. He said they were late. It took forever to get the stuff. I was looking at the website last night. Somebody ordered some stuff on the 16th, and I don't know if that's gotten to you yet. Some people ordered some shirts, some mugs, and some merchandise. I just want to know what your feedback is on that because I'm looking to move away from Teespring. I don't have any control over any of it, but I want to know your experiences. So if you could email me and just be as blunt as you could possibly be, email me at thebaldbradshow@gmail.com, and I'd really love to know so that we can get you guys taken care of in the sense of, not having you go through a trash third-party vendor or something like that. So with that being said, I'll end it here. Pray for this country. Pray for Donald Trump. Thanks for letting me hang out with you guys. I appreciate you. And thanks for your understanding about not having Dark MAGA last night. But I actually got to go out and have some fun, which was always nice and rare. So with that being said, see you hopefully tomorrow on Spooky Adventures, folks. Take care of one another. Peace.